Hi, this is Mary Baca with Remotely Unique, coming to you from Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I have in my studio today a woman who serves various functions here at Odyssey Counseling, Allies for First Responders, and Resilience Integrative Services, which are three businesses that I have. Her name is Roberta Jaramillo, but she goes by Bobby. And how long have I known you now? It's been over a year, hasn't it been?
Yeah.
So, and we'll talk about how I met her. You know, our first conversation I'll never forget. Like you feel so familiar to me still today. And really, like, we haven't spent that much time together, but I feel like I've known you forever. Bobby is part of my first responder training team. She's part of my holistic team, certified in Reiki 1 and 2 from me. And, yeah, and then she serves as peer support if I need her to. There's a lot of things she does. So you can start to share what you want, and I'll ask you questions.
I don't know. You covered everything.
She is a law enforcement officer.
Law enforcement.
For how many years?
28 years. Well, I've been in law enforcement for the past 28 years. An officer for 17 years. I just left law enforcement, and I was...
How did you start first in law enforcement?
I started off as a secretary.
Okay.
When I was 17.
Wow.
And I always tell the story because I had decided not to go to college that year, and I was working at Kmart. So my dad came through my line, and he says, go have lunch with me. So we went and had lunch, and he decided that he was going to there was an application for like a general pool for different secretaries, and he decided that he was going to apply for me because he didn't want me being a cashier. And I ended up getting called for the police department, and I thought, there's no way I want to work with a bunch of cops.
Did you think that then?
I did. Well, and I actually said pigs because I was...
Because that was then.
But I used to drive a 65 Mustang. And every time I would take it out, I would get pulled over. And so I'm like, I wasn't doing anything. I was just getting pulled over. And...
Were you speeding?
Probably.
Yeah. I mean, you were 17, Yeah.
And,
or younger.
So then I just didn't like them. And so they happened to call me. And then little by little, I started making friends and seeing
Oh, they're actually people.
Yeah, they're people. And listening to the radio, doing ride-alongs. And so I went from a secretary to a dispatcher. Then I decided that I wanted to go to the academy. I had started the process here at APD. And we ended up having to go back to Gallup, and I called then at the time the deputy chief, and I told him I want to come home, and he said, come home, you name it, you come home. And I did, and that's where I actually started my law enforcement, my police career. So
How old were you when you started the academy?
in my late 20s. Yeah, 28, 29.
So you stayed a secretary for how long were you a dispatcher?
And then I did dispatch. You're going to ask me a timeline, aren't you?
Well, just like how long, yeah.
It was, I don't know, 4 or 5 years I dispatched.
That's a hard job, too.
Yeah. So I kind of started like from the ground up, and I did pretty much everything.
That's kind of a good way to do it, don't you think?
Well, and it helped out as when I became the sergeant, and then I was able to train the secretaries, and I knew the ins and outs. But I also had a sergeant that wanted us to go through start from the ground up. And we had to sit with the secretaries, we had to sit with evidence, we had to go into detectives. So we had to know every part of the agency. Mm-hmm. And so that helped a lot too.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful. But I've gone and sat with dispatchers and 911 operators for APD, and it's a tough job, man.
I think it's harder. myself personally, I think it's harder being a dispatcher than it is an officer.
Seriously, why?
Yes, because they don't get closure.
Yeah.
You know, they get that emergency call, and somebody's screaming on the other line, and officers get there, they have to disconnect. Or the ambulance gets there, whatever, somebody gets on scene, and they have to disconnect. And then they go on to the other call, and they're still wondering, well, what happened to this call? And so they don't get closure the way we get closure.
Yeah.
We get to see what's going on, and
Well,
finish it
it's
up.
all difficult, right? It's just
Yeah.
different elements of that. But yeah, for sure, I think that is difficult. And I've had dispatchers tell me exactly that it's hard because they don't get the closure. You know, so a lot of times they don't know what happened, especially like if it's a kid call.
Right.
You know, I think those are always hard for everybody. No matter what kind of first responder, the kid calls are like the hardest. So what made you, okay, so you're just getting out of law enforcement. What made you decide that? That's a big decision.
It's been a week.
It's been a week. Am I out?
been a
I don't
week.
know.
It was time. It was
Yeah,
time.
28 years is a long time.
It was time. I think that there was just a lot going on, and there was never a time that I didn't wake up in the morning and feel like I didn't want to go to work, you know. And there was never a time that I didn't victim blame. There wasn't a time that I just wasn't gung-ho. And little by little it started happening, and it was just time. So, yeah.
It's like, okay, I'm not happy doing this anymore.
Yeah.
You know, and everybody, there has to be a time for whatever career somebody's in, right? And I think it's always hard. I think with law enforcement, it's really difficult because, well, any first responder, it's like, it's such a demanding job, no matter what, whether it's a paramedic or a firefighter or a police officer, it's so demanding that your identity really becomes wrapped up in that.
Right.
And I think with police officers even more so, right? And so it's hard. I think that's a hard transition a lot of times.
We'll see.
Yeah. I
I
remember,
feel like I'm on vacation, so I'm not sure exactly if the transition's difficult yet. But
yeah, I remember one officer I talked to, he had retired, and he was a motorcycle officer, and he took on a job in Homeland Security, like at the airport though, and he had the hardest time because he wasn't carrying a gun, he didn't have a badge, and so when people would act up at the airport, they were trained to run away from the person. They were not trained like police officers where you run at them. And he was like, that was so hard for me. He said, you know, that was really hard. Now he's kind of moved up the chain, and so he has different response, you know, but yeah, that was really hard. He was like, you know, I don't have a gun on my side, like, you know, and I have to run away from the situation. That was probably the hardest for him at that time. This has been years, you know, but I remember that conversation. It was really difficult for him.
yeah, no, I get that. Yeah.
But you're going to keep your commission active,
Yes.
which is good. Like, you worked hard for that.
Yeah.
And you never know I mean, you know, who knows? Like, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I might change my mind, you know, in a year or two, and
Or
say,
there might be
okay,
an
I'm done, I want to go back, or yeah, and
There might be an opportunity, yeah, that you would want to go back into, you know, and so I think it's a good idea. Even like with counselors, I see some counselors give up their license, and I'm like, why would you ever do that? Like, we work so hard for that. Like, you know, you just get your CEUs every year to maintain
Right.
it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And what do you have to do to maintain it? Do you have to get like continuing
The same thing,
education stuff?
That's basically, so we have to go through our basic classes, and then we have like a 40-hour advanced class, and that's every other year, or every 2
Do you have to
years.
qualify with
Biennials,
firearms
yeah.
too, every
Yeah.
year, or every 2 years, or how often?
Every year. So, yeah.
And so you're going to be starting as an educator. Tell us about that. That's
Um,
exciting, though.
Yeah. I honestly really wasn't a kid person. I liked kids. I mean, I love my kids. I like kids, but I just didn't feel like meshed with the kids. And I did a year as a school resource officer. And I really liked them. And I was really
Is that just adolescents, or what
surprised.
age group
It was
is that?
the high school.
High school, yeah.
And I was really surprised that we meshed so well. So I will be at the high school doing like credit recovery for the kids. So the kids that need extra credits to graduate, I'll be doing that.
Nice. That sounds really positive. Like trying to help kids work past whatever's holding them back.
Yeah. So they do career. It's like a career readiness, and so then they get their welding, or like all the blue collar, the trades. So they'll learn about a different trade, and they'll get their credits that they need.
Is that at the high school there, or what? Nice.
Yeah.
That's really nice. So, like troubled kids potentially, right?
Kind of, or just kids that just I'm over school and I don't want to get there, and they're a couple of credits short, and we're like, you don't want to go back and get your GED because it's a whole year and you have to study harder for your GED. So just suck it up and get your next 3
You're like, you're right there.
Right. And then there's these trades that you can go into, and they'll train you to do these things, and yeah. So
That'll be good. So when do you start? Next week?
next week.
Wow. It'll be interesting because coming out of COVID, the schools being that I think this year is the first year, right, that they're back in the classrooms in person. And so I think there will be some excitement for them with that. It'll be interesting. And you don't have anything to compare it to because you
Right.
weren't, in that position last year. But
Yeah.
So what will be your title, your job title? Teacher or?
So I'll be a teacher, and I'll be for the, it's called PLC. So in that program, so, yeah,
Very cool. That's something to look forward to.
it's gonna be different. It is gonna be a big change.
Yeah, it will, but that's exciting too, because it'll be something completely new for you. And that's, I think you like challenges just from getting to know you a little bit, and so that'll challenge you. It'll be kind of neat. What about, so you're also Reiki 1 and 2 certified, so talk about what that's been like and what the training was like for you, and that kind of opened up a whole new chapter for your life too, right?
Well, I started off with the intuition series, and I always knew that I had intuition. I just was kind of afraid of it, and you kept saying, don't be afraid of it. This is, and so after that class, things just opened up, and my intuition has been on point, and I know the difference between my voice. I don't want to say voices in my head because that makes me sound crazy. That makes me sound crazy, but I know the difference between the different signs or thoughts, and it's getting easier to differentiate the two. And then going through the Reiki classes, that was amazing in itself. As a matter of fact, the other day when we were talking, my dog has restless leg, so I've been doing it to her. So now she gets like every other night, so I can tell that there's a big difference.
Nice, yeah.
Because she was up to like 2 times a day that she would just like bite on her leg, and it would just irritate her. And now she's only getting every other night, and she's been sleeping really good.
Nice.
So I'm like, so yeah.
Isn't that great when you see it work,
Yes.
It's like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
And, animals are so receptive. They're not like human beings that, have a block and are like suspicious of something.
Right.
Like animals are just open. And so I think it works quicker, maybe.
I think so,
I don't know.
because when I first tried doing it with her, she was licking me, and she wouldn't let me just like rest on her or pet her because she just wanted to. And then after a while, she started just relaxing, and she was able to let it go. So.
Who else have you done Reiki on?
Both of my boys. I've tried doing over the phone with one of my friends.
Nice.
And I think she's a little bit blocked. My youngest son was just like, this isn't working, Mom. My oldest son, he was saying that he can feel the heat coming off of my hands. And
Is that the
his
son that's
neck.
really intuitive as well?
And he said, I can just feel like you're touching me. And I said, I'm not touching you. I'm not even close to you. And so he can feel. So, and I asked him, let me do Reiki on you last night. And he said, no. He didn't want to. So, but yeah.
And the other one, he claimed, sometimes, I don't know, do you think that?
He says, I can't feel nothing. I don't know. And he was just kind of, but I think because he is very intuitive too, but sometimes he just says things just to kind of put me off. So I don't know if he really felt it. There was a couple other people there too, so I don't know if he was just.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't know how lucky he is because people pay for those services, you know?
Like, this is big bucks, kid, and you're getting
Yeah.
it for free. So,
Yeah, maybe they'll come around, you know?
yeah.
It's amazing, though, how much you can use it, like on animals. You can even do Reiki on plants. I should try that because I kill plants. I should try doing that. But, you can infuse Reiki energy into anything. Like, it's into your car, and set intention for it to run well or, it's kind of interesting, the different things.
Yeah, it's been great.
Do you think you've changed with, because that's how we originally met, right? So talk about that, like how we originally met, like in terms of that phone conversation that we had.
So, I had initially gotten, one of my shift partners had approached me and says, do you realize that we don't have an EAP, an employee assistance program for counseling?
Yeah, I'm still trying to work on them.
Yeah. For counseling, and I says, no, I didn't. I mean, I wasn't thinking about going to counseling. And he says, well, if you ever want to go, I go to this place, and it's called Behind the Badge. You should try it. And I'm like, and him and I hadn't really talked. We hadn't really had conversations of any kind of counseling. And so it was weird to me that he had approached. And I thought, do I really look that distraught that he has to come out of the blue and ask me? So then it took me a couple days to call you. And I called and you called me back. And that was the first time I had thought about getting out of law enforcement. And I wanted to do counseling and Reiki and yoga and massages. And so when we start talking, you're telling me you do all this, and I'm like, are you kidding me? This is exactly the business that I wanted to open up. But yeah, I remember talking for a long, long time. Like,
It
we
was
had
over
known-
like 2
yeah,
hours.
like
It's
we had
crazy.
known each other forever. It was it was strange.
I know, and then I'll text you out of the blue and be like, how are you doing?
Get out of my head. Because and it's funny, and I just laugh. Now I laugh because I'll be thinking, I got to tell her this. I got to text her this and tell her this. And then you'll call and you'll ask about that question. And I'm like, get out of my head.
It's interesting how that happens. I know one of the things you've done that is just fascinating to me is body recovery using your intuition. I think that is just, you want to share a little bit about that? That's amazing. Because I think a lot of times people don't realize how expansive intuition can be used in all these different formats and jobs and things like that.
So I had this homicide case, and some people had gone missing, and I knew that they were no longer alive. And so...
Because you sensed it, not
Right.
because it was on
Right.
paper
No,
reported.
it wasn't on paper. At that time, they were just missing people. And it was brand new missing. They were, of course, they could have died within the 24 hours, or the first hour that they went missing. But I knew that they were no longer alive. And so then I kept sensing that they were going to be recovered here. The only difference is that I was thinking that they would be recovered in an alley behind Central. I was not really close, but they were here. They were left, we recovered them, and they ended up being here. So, yeah. And it just, a similar, what my vision was, it was similar to the alley. So the two were still, and I mean, my intuition's still brand new, so, you know, but that's where they were recovered. And it was within a couple of days after I had sensed it. But there was a couple of times, there was another time, and I had told my oldest son, another person had gone missing, and I kept telling him, I'm going to tell you this because nobody else is going to believe me. They're going to find his body, and they're going to find him on the side of the road, and they're going to find him in bushes. And sure enough, they did. Wow. And I told my son, I told you. And I said, and nobody's going to believe me, so I want you to. And then we were looking for an apartment for my boys, and I kept circling the area that they're moving in Sunday, and the area that they were in, I kept circling. Well, my friend was with me, and she said, if I was not with you, I would not believe, because you were so focused, but you just couldn't find the house. And I was like 2 blocks away from the house that they're moving in now. And she said, so I wouldn't believe it if I didn't see it. So, yeah.
Well, so the first one, had you done the class yet?
No.
So, you know, if you would have, maybe you would have like taken your mind further to explore, you know, where you would have gotten more clarity, you know?
Mm-hmm. And I knew the general vicinity that he would be at, and we were looking for him, and I knew, like, I could feel that we were going to find him. So I was trying to get the family members away from that area and on a totally different side of town, so that way we can find him. Mm-hmm. And she happened to come off the hill and ran right into him and see him. The second one, I had already taken the class, but I just knew that they were going to be here in Albuquerque, and I don't know why I was picking up the Central alley. I was picking up an alley in Central. So, but
It's so fascinating, huh? Yeah. I think, and those are the days that, well, before you took the class, you did not believe in your intuition. Like, you did not think you were intuitive, right. You know, and I remember kind of laughing and being like, you're doing body recovery with intuition. Like, I mean, are you kidding me? You know, like, it doesn't get any better than that, you know? And so now I think you're gaining more confidence. Yes? No?
As a matter of fact, when I called you, we were in the middle of that class, and my son had gotten into a crash. And I had seen him get into a crash a couple days before that.
In your mind, right? Because people might not know what you mean by that.
I saw him in my mind. So then that morning, I couldn't sleep, and I was having a hard time sleeping, and it was snowing. And I texted him, and I said, son, be careful driving today. Go slow. If you're late, you're late. You know, and so he responded back. And then I'm laying there, and I'm meditating. And I saw the crash in my mind happen. And I saw him spin out. I saw him hit the guardrail. I saw him like ping off the other guardrail, and then finally come to rest in the ditch.
And is that what happened?
And that's exactly what happened. So as soon as he comes to rest, my phone rings. And he's like, Mom. And I can hear it in his voice. And I said, what, son? And he said, I just got into a crash. And I said, I know.
Wow.
And he says, but I don't know where I'm at. So I told him where he was at. And I said, just call 911, tell him to ping your, because it was dark. And I said, tell him to ping your phone and send an officer there. So, of course, because it was snowing, it took him a while to get there. So once the sun went up and he was able to see where he was at, he calls me back and he said, I'm exactly where you told me I was.
Wow.
And I said, okay. And I told him, just make sure you stay off the road and whatever. But yeah. So,
yeah, that's amazing.
And that's when I called you, and I'm like, did I make this happen?
I know, I remember that. Yeah, and you didn't, it's just amazing. I really believe, I've experienced, and this is why I believe this, that mind and our energy travel faster than what our brain, does that make sense? Like, so we can be in a place before we're even aware.
Right.
It's fascinating. Like, yeah. So you didn't make it happen, but you were probably already there, obviously.
Right. And that was the day, it was the first night that the angels had come to visit.
Oh, when you did the angel hosting?
I did the angel hosting. And that's when I was laying there meditating, just kind of listening. And I said, please go be with him. And I sent him that way. And yeah, it was scary. It was scary all the way around because I knew that he was safe, but then I thought, did I make this happen because I had thought about it? So that was at the beginning of trying to decipher what the intention, like a manifestation or intuition was.
And what do you believe now?
Now that I've been through the class and I've understood it, I know that it was intuition.
Mm-hmm. Which can be a really useful tool. I think a lot of times people are afraid of their intuition because of what they might know, but it's like, well, it's good. I think it's, a way of God or spirit or whatever your beliefs are of like making us aware of something so that when it does happen, we're prepared for it, rather than being completely caught off guard.
Right. Because before that, I would have jumped in the car and taken off out there. But I knew that he was safe. And I knew me getting on the road would have, it was no good. It would have done neither one of us any good. But,
yeah, that's pretty neat. Why do I want to ask about your dogs? That's interesting. I don't know. Are your dogs intuitive? I think animals are.
It's funny because I have a pit bull, and it's going to sound bizarre, but his face seems to change like a human. Like, you can see emotions on his face. And so he belonged to my youngest son. And we brought him up here when he moved, and he stopped eating. He just didn't want to eat. So I said, okay. And I came to visit. He was eating. So I said, I need to take him home. He started eating. But he's very emotional. He likes to give hugs. He'll, and then when he can feel my emotion, and I don't let him jump, so he kind of just like creeps up and then puts his paws around me and puts his head on my chest. So, yeah, Is
that the brown and white one?
He's been amazing, yes, that's him. And then my little one, her name is Freya. I've had her since she fit in the palm of my hand. My oldest son brought her because she got kicked out of the litter, and they were ditching school to bottle feed her. And I was on leave, and I had just had surgery, so he was like, hey, Mom, can you feed her? No. And, yeah, I've had her for 8 years. So she's the one that has the restless leg.
Oh, but it's getting better,
Yeah.
so that's good.
But they're amazing. They've been amazing for me.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Animals are so, they give us so much. Even with rescue dogs, it's like, I often think, who rescues who?
Well, Jax was a rescue, and that was the worst. Out of everything I've ever been through in my life, going to that shelter was the worst thing I've ever felt. Mm-hmm. It was horrible. But he was the last dog in the kennel, and because we went here to the one up on Lomas, and he was the last cage. And he just sat there and he looked. And my son said, I want that one. That's the one I want. And he's been amazing since. So.
How old are they?
Jax is 3 and Freya is 8. So, yeah.
How sweet.
Yeah, they're pretty amazing.
What is it like for you when you do Reiki? What is that like, that experience?
For me, my hands get really hot and tingly. And especially if there's like stuck energy, if somebody has stuck energy or like bad feelings, if they were like when I did Cynthia, she was going through a tough time and I didn't know her. I had just met her that day,
in the class.
Before, yeah, in the class. And so I didn't know what she was going through and what she was experiencing. And I would hover over her heart, and my hands would, like the veins on my hands would pop up, and they would feel like they were sleeping, like I had needles coming through my, and she was like, I can feel that. I can feel it. So we were feeling each other's energy. But throughout the rest of the week, it would go away. It wasn't as intense. And then after a while, it was just kind of like just a heat. And each day she was getting better and better and better. And then at the end of the class, she says, well, yeah, I'm going through some stuff. And I was like, what? Yeah. And she had a heartache, and that's where all that was, and in her heart, that I was feeling all the.
It's amazing when you get that validation, huh? When you sense whatever in the person's body, and then in talking to them later, you're like, that gets validated. It's like, wow, oh yeah, you know.
And that's where I just kept like trying to concentrate on her heart, and then around her head, because she was having like the thoughts, just overthinking. And so, but her heart was really, really intense. And that feeling, when I had first felt her, it kind of even shocked me, because I didn't know what I was experiencing and what it felt like. And then talking to everybody else, they were like, yeah, I feel the tingles, or I feel this. And so I'm like, okay, I'm on track. I know. I'm doing this right.
I was going to say, I must be doing this right.
So
what do you want to do with the Reiki?
Eventually, now that I have time, start seeing more clients and being up here more often, and being able to see different clients, and we're using it a lot more often. And yeah.
Yeah, and so you'll be able to come up like on weekend, is that what you're thinking? And then when you have break, like, when you have Christmas breaks or whatever. Yeah, that'll be great, because I can have you, so we have a program called Rise and Flow that's a holistic program for first responders. And not that you just have to work with first responders, but that'll be amazing for you to be involved in that and be able to work on some of your brothers and sisters in the field. Because I feel like, well, and you'll be able to relate to this, like even when somebody retires or leaves any first responder job, and they're talking about the past, they talk about it like if it's in the present, because it sticks with you.
Right.
And so I always respect first responders. Like, to me, once a first responder, always a first responder. It doesn't matter if you've been out 10 years or a day or, whatever. I feel like that respect is much deserved and earned. Yeah. So it'll be good. I can start now that, like you said, now that you'll have time.
Yeah.
I'm excited because I can include you in some of those things,
Well, and I was, when we were talking about the dogs and doing Reiki on the dogs, when you guys went to the rescue, and I was sad because I was on call and I didn't want to be out here and then end up getting called. And yeah, so you guys did both times, and I was on call both times.
Yeah, we'll do more though. There's you met Lainey, and you're going to see her tonight, but we can even go up there sometime and work on her dogs, her rescue. She has her rescue's called Cross My Paws.
Oh.
Yeah, so cute. She's like, you want puppies? I got puppies. You want to work on puppies? And then there's some people I know who are in the rescue realm in Santa Fe, and there's so much work there to be done, just to help not only the rescue animals, but even the people that run them. That's a high stress. I can't imagine, to see the animals that come in and the condition that they're in, when they come in. And so, yeah, I like helping them as well and keep them going so that they can continue to do what they do,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And again, I was not an animal person. It's funny how life takes you on different paths, because I was not an animal person. And now I'm all about the animals. And
what do you think happened? That's interesting. I didn't know
I
that.
don't know. I think Jax. I honestly think it was Jax, because Joel and I fought tooth and nail. I did not want another dog. I didn't want a big dog. I didn't want a pit bull. He's a pit bull terrier. And I didn't want a pit bull. I didn't. And we fought tooth and nail, and then he had to catch me with the birthday present. And so that's how we ended up getting him. And Jack's just,
He stole your heart.
He did. And then seeing all the dogs in the shelter and how sad they were and the different things that they wanted to do, like it seemed like that they were doing like little tricks and trying to get your attention. And it was the worst, I'm telling you, the worst thing that I've ever seen in my life. So, yeah, now I'm an animal person.
Well, you should see when you go and work in the rescues on the dogs, like it's how relaxed they get, their whole demeanor changes. So you see a dog that maybe has some anxiety, a lot of anxiety, and then when you work on them doing the Reiki, like they just mellow out. It's like amazing and beautiful to see that, you know?
That was cute when they sent the pictures and
yeah,
all
the video,
dogs were,
huh?
like just sitting there waiting for their food and
Yeah.
they were attacking the fence. Yeah.
They were like so calm and relaxed, you know, not barking or anything. Yeah, it was pretty cool. Well, I look forward to kind of the next chapter with you, like in terms of continuing to mentor you and, you know, and work alongside you and just really include you in some of the projects that we're doing. And it's going to be exciting, I think, you know? Yeah.
I'm excited.
It's very different from what you were doing.
It is, and it's a lot more relaxing. Like I get energy from.
Do you work on yourself? Because you can, right? Do Reiki on yourself. Do you do that?
Mm-hmm.
And what's that like?
So I broke my toe and twisted my ankle a few years ago, and it's like constantly swollen. So when I go run or spend a lot of time on it, I'll work on it, and like the pain goes away. I want to work on my dad. That's my next goal, is to work on my dad and see if I can. So he had a stroke several years ago, and he's paralyzed in his right side. To see if I can take the tingles away from his arm.
Will he let you work on him?
I don't know. So I'm just kind of trying to, you know, feel him out and see. He's usually down for whatever, but we'll see how much he embraces it.
Well, does he believe in alternative stuff? Like things outside of mainstream medicine?
I think he appeases me. Oh. And so both my sister and I try to, you know, try this, Dad, or try this is an herb, or try this. And so with herbs, it takes several days to get into your system. It's not like an aspirin that you take and it heals you right away. Right. And so he'll do it for like 1 or 2 days. And then he'll say it didn't work. Well, Dad, you have to, you know, like we try to explain that. So he wants fast results. And so we have to.
Maybe with the Reiki, if you make it sound like he's doing it for you, like, hey, Dad, I need to practice. You know, he probably would say yes, okay. You know?
Yeah.
He'd be like, okay, he'll be all crashed out, you know?
That's a good idea.
He'll be all sound asleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just so relaxing. Any kind of energy work, you know, whether it's quantum alignment or Reiki or whatever, like, you don't have to be touched in order to relax, and you feel like you got a massage.
Right. That quantum alignment, when you did quantum alignment, I mean, that was, it was amazing.
Didn't I do a distant one first, or no?
No, you did the one in person first, and then the distant one when I was going through all that homicide. And but the first one that you did here, I was sore the next day, like I had gotten a massage.
Wow!
Yeah.
Wow!
And it felt like, and all the parts that were tense in my body, those are the parts that were sore, and just like a massage. And it was crazy.
It's fascinating, huh? Yeah. What about adrenal support? Talk about that, because I think that
has been absolutely amazing. So the adrenal support is pills, some, you know, herbal pills.
A supplement, yeah.
Supplements. And
now, did you buy your own, or are you taking the one that I did? I forget which one you're taking.
I bought the one that you told me, the bottle. So I have.
Okay, yeah.
And started off with just the 25, and because I had been telling you, like I was just exhausted, just wiped out.
Yeah.
I would go home every day after work and take a nap, wake up, make supper, take a nap or go to bed and sleep like I hadn't taken a nap. And I was tired all the time. And I started taking them, and I have crazy amount of energy. Not like through the roof energy, but sustained energy through the whole entire day. Like, I don't get tired. I don't want to take naps. When I'm lazy, it's me being lazy, and not because I'm so tired that I just can't get out of bed or get off the couch, you know. And so, yeah. There was even a couple times that I had called in because I was just so tired that I just knew that I couldn't make it through the day. And, yeah, these supplements have been amazing.
Yeah, I just started a firefighter on adrenal support the other day, and by the next day he was like, I cannot believe it. Like, all of a sudden he had energy and he was motivated, and, you know, just, he's like, I can't thank you enough. And I'm like, well, you're willing to do it. That's half the battle.
Yeah.
You know, but I take an adrenal. The same one you take, I take every day now for like 8 years. And if I forget, because like one time I went on vacation and I forgot all my supplements here, I noticed the difference. I had to drag myself out of bed. But as long as I take that supplement, and the thing that's great is these supplements are reparative. So they don't just calm a symptom like a medication will. Mm-hmm. They really repair the adrenals, you know. And the best marriage is Western and Eastern medicine. It's just that Western medicine is not very open to Eastern approaches, but,
Right.
you know.
And I'm all about it. Like, when I had my oldest son, I said, nope, we're not doing, you know, any medication. We're not doing, and then unfortunately he had asthma, so we had to, but yeah, and then Joel, we do a lot of supplements with him when he wants, you know, when he has issues or whatever, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Well, it's great to have you on and to see you in person, you know. We talk on the phone or text, but I don't even know. The last time I saw you was for the Reiki training, which has been several months ago now. So, yeah, and we're going to get together with some of the gals from the class later, and that'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah.
And now I have time, it seems like I never had time.
Yeah. And the energy, right? Like,
the
I mean,
energy,
you know?
Yes. I would come up and see the boys, and I'm like, let's just lay down. Let's just watch a movie.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And now you're like, want to be up and around. Well, now you run like all the time.
Yeah, I've been.
Which is great.
So my goal is to do 30 days straight because I hate to run. It's like the worst thing in my life. And so it was to do 30 days straight, and I started that in July, or at the beginning of July, and I think I've missed like 4 days. So, yeah.
That's really good.
So and sometimes I don't run. I'm out there and I'm walking fast or speed walking, whatever. But I still, it was
Getting your heart rate up and stuff. Do you wear a Fitbit?
Yeah.
I need to get one. Yeah. Oh, it's just like is it a smartwatch?
This one is the Samsung.
Oh, yeah, that's what I want to get. And so does it have it has a Fitbit modality on it?
It has the, gives you all your steps and when you're running and when you're walking, how fast you're walking, your heart rate, the oxygen, how much oxygen.
Nice. And how you sleep? Does that one do that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it gives my sleep. So that's initially when I had my Fitbit. I had a Fitbit before, and that's the only reason why I bought it, to see how I was sleeping, because I was tired. And I thought, am I not getting sleep? And I'm just thinking that I'm not, and that's why I bought it. And now I'm getting good sleep, and yeah.
And that's a smartwatch. So the cool thing is you can use it for texting and stuff like that too. So yeah, I'll have to get one, a Samsung, because that's what I have. I don't have an Apple. I like my Droid.
Boo, Apple.
Do you want an Apple?
No, I don't like Apple.
Yeah.
I don't like Apple.
Yeah. A lot of people are really into that product. I'm like, I'll stick with my Droid.
Yeah.
Anyways, well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. You can find this segment on remotely-unique.com, Spotify, iTunes, and Amazon Music, as well as our YouTube channel. It'll be up on Monday, August 2nd. So look for it then, and have a great evening. Be good to yourself and each other. Bye for now.